The next card coming to Marvel Snap is Silver Samurai. And is this Samurai going to be the sleeper of the month? Well, a lot of people seem to think so. And I'm starting to see the potential in this card. He's being pretty sneaky. I got it mixed up often. So let me just clarify what this card does. It is a 4/5. On reveal, each player discards the lowest power card from their hand. Not to be confused with the lowest energy card in their hand like Colleen Wing does. So this is a new way of discard, which is pretty interesting because we've always been accustomed to discarding cards based on their cost, and now you have something that's involving the power of a card. It makes the deck building a little bit more fascinating, which I'm pretty excited about. But is this card worth 6,000 tokens? Or those precious spotlight caches that we know we're trying to hoard for some more exciting months? Well, that's what we're going to find out in this video. We're going to talk about some synergistic cards, some deck lists that have brewed up today, some counters and mechanics of Silver Samurai. But first, let's talk about what else you can open up in the spotlight caches this week, because that's a big factor on whether you end up, actually pulling the trigger and rolling the dice and opening these up. So we have Kitty Pryde, a Series 5 card, but if you've been playing for about 3-4 months, you probably got this card for free. I believe it was given out for free in April or May or sometime around then. A very, very strong card in a lot of lists. In my opinion, one of the best one-drops in the game, but I feel like a lot of people already own it. Okay, the other card is Spider-Man 2099. A lot of hype was surrounded for Spider-Man 2099, but I do not believe he lived up to it. He's just a bit clunky, a little bit awkward, and the payoff isn't always what you want. Series 4 card, 3,000 token equivalent. So is it worth it? Honestly, no. I'm going to tell you right now, a bit of a spoiler. I'm not exactly saying pass on the card, but I'm saying the spotlight cache just feels a bit weak. If you own Kitty Pryde, I don't like the variant that much. I think she has better ones. And then Spider-Man 2099, if you don't own them, maybe you do, it doesn't really matter. I wouldn't pull the trigger for this card. The variant also, I think he has some better ones. This one's good, but it's not spotlight cache worthy in my opinion. And then Silver Samurai is great, and maybe tokens are not too bad. But anyways, that's what I think about the spotlight caches. But let's get into the mechanics of Silver Samurai. All right, mechanically, there's not a whole lot to talk about with this card. I think it's pretty straightforward, but I found a few nuances that I wanted to just raise. So if one player's hand is empty, Silver Samurai's ability will still trigger for the player with cards in hand. Now, that might seem obvious, but I wanted to clarify because Gambit was recently changed, where Gambit will not destroy a card if he has nothing to discard. So he checks your hand. If it's empty, then he's not going to throw the card and destroy something. Whereas Silver Samurai is a trigger. It's going to happen regardless. Whether you have a card in your hand or your opponent has a card, it doesn't matter. Another thing that I don't have here, but is kind of important to note, I don't know of many implications of this, but maybe you guys do. Let me know in the comments below. But it is confirmed that Silver Samurai will discard from your opponent's hand first and then your hand. Again, I don't exactly know the implications of that, but I'm sure there's going to be something that eventually comes up, and that's actually worth noting. Another thing is opposing cards discarded by Silver Samurai will not be resurrected by your Hela or your Ghost Rider. It's always looking at your discard pile and resurrecting those cards. Or same with Morbius, he's only adding power based on the cards that you discarded, not what your opponent discarded, despite you being the one to make them discard. And then lastly, Null is not a good option to pair with Silver Samurai. I don't know why you would do that anyways, but who knows? Maybe there's like some crazy destroyed discard list with Dakin and Silver Samurai, but basically you don't want to do this because at the current moment, Null is receiving power in hand and in the deck throughout the entire match. So he's not going to be, well, most likely is not going to be your lowest power card in your hand. I mean, if you do end up playing Silver Samurai and you haven't destroyed anything yet, or nothing has been destroyed, then he will be 0 power. You can probably reliably discard him. But what I'm saying is, compared to a card like Morbius, who doesn't actually show his power total until he's on the field, it's not really worth pairing the two. Okay, so some of the pros and some of the cons for Silver Samurai. I definitely, after thinking about this card, I think there's more pros than cons, but let's just get into it. So there's targeted discard. Time and time after time, we know that this is really, really good. I wanted to compare Silver Samurai to Moon Knight or Black Bolt. Those are like the two most comparable cards, because Black Bolt is essentially discarding your card from your opponent's hand. That's the lowest cost. Silver Samurai is taking out the lowest power, so some parallels there. And then Moon Knight is doing a reciprocal discard just like Silver Samurai, but there's no target. And yet Moon Knight costs less. And usually in Marvel Snap, or really any card game, if the card costs less, you want to run that in your deck because it's easier to play and enable with all your other synergies. But in this instance, the RNG aspect, the randomness of Moon Knight's effect, he just never sees the meta in any discard list, or pretty well even with stature, none of it, because you might discard your stature. Whereas Silver Samurai is going to guarantee that you don't discard your stature so long as you have anything that has less power, and you have the potential to maybe get your opponent's most valuable card, right? There's a lot of cards out there right now, like Darkhawk. Arnim Zola is popular because of Destroy lately. The list goes on. Iron Man is a fantastic option. Patriot lists. Like, there's just a lot going for Silver Samurai to discard and really ruin your opponent's potential plays moving forward. A lot more so than Black Bolt would, right? Because Black Bolt's going to get rid of the lowest cost card at the later stage of the game, like turn 5, and they probably didn't care about it too much. You use Silver Samurai on 4 or 5, you get rid of that Darkhawk that they wanted to play on 5 or 6, that's going to hurt. So the ability to, get rid of your opponent's important play, those amazing targets, enabler for your stature, and just a lot of other crazy synergies, like you can discard your swarms if they happen to be the lowest power card in your hand. I'm thinking a great combo, and funny enough, I'm talking about countering it. I think it's great with Darkhawk. I know that sounds crazy, but if you pair it with Ghost Rider and Zabu, all of a sudden you have this amazing list where you're discounting all your 4-drops to 3 costs, and you actually want to discard your Darkhawk so that you can play Ghost Rider to resummon it later. I feel like that's actually legit, and we could see that happening. So yeah, I think there's great synergies, there's great targets, and just having that ability to know exactly what you're discarding from your hand when you play the card, so long as your opponent doesn't directly counter you, then it's really good. But it's not all happy days with Silver Samurai. For instance, if you look at this amazing variant up here, he is a 4/5. That's not a great stat line, right? With our 4-drops, we'd prefer them to be at the 6 power range with an ability that kind of, is good, but also can backfire, because let's face it, this ability can backfire. You got to watch out. Most of the times, yeah, you're going to hit that, low power card that you wanted, that X23, that Muramasa Shard, or whatever else. It's going to be great and it's going to work to your strategy, but sometimes you're not going to draw the way you wanted to, and then that card you discard, it's going to be a sacrifice for a later turn. So gotta watch out for that. I think those are few and far between depending on how you deck build, but it's relevant, it's there. If you don't have Zabu out, and this is going to cost you 4 energy for 5 power, you gotta hope that turn 5 and 6, it has done enough to really help you out, or at least disrupt your opponent sufficiently. And then the last thing is its use in a mirror matchup, which might be very relevant in the first week of its release. If a lot of people are picking this up, there's discard. If there's ever a discard quest or there's a discard feature location and discard decks are running rampant in the meta, Silver Samurai is not going to be so great because you are helping your opponent. There's a good shot that they have low power cards that they want to discard, and so do you. So I guess it helps you out a little bit. But if you're buffing their Morbius, you're discarding their Swarm, whatever, the list goes on, like you're helping their strategy. So this card just feels really bad in the mirror. Same as, I guess, as like Moon Knight would as well, but you just don't see Moon Knight anymore. This card kind of power creeps over Moon Knight a little bit, which kind of breaks my heart. They are a little bit different, but still, I think you're running Silver Samurai almost every time over Moon Knight. All right, so it is an on reveal card, and of course, if it's on reveal, then Cosmo is going to counter it because Cosmo just lives in the top left there, right there. That's the dog home, the dog house. Then you got the Muramasa Shard, you got X23, Wolverine. These are all cards that want to be discarded, don't have a whole lot of power. So again, if it's that mirror matchup, these cards are like, yeah, discard me, go me. This is great. I don't even have to play my own Silver Samurai because you did it for me. Thank you. So, if you're running that mirror matchup or in a destroy list, you got to watch out if these are still in the hand and you happen to discard them. It's not going to feel so great. Not the worst, not the best. Then Stature is another one. Again, the mirror matchup. If somebody is playing that Darkhawk list with Stature, Black Bolt, Rockslide, that kind of package, which is pretty meta relevant right now, then yeah, you're just going to do the discard discard for them, then they don't actually have to play Black Bolt on 5 if they don't want to. The number one reason that card is relevant in the meta right now is because of stature. There was the longest time that Black Bolt was regarded as the worst card ever because it had no real synergies that you wanted to make use of it. And yeah, it just didn't really work out. So if you don't have to play the card and you can just play stature for 1 on turn 6 with whatever else you got to do, I'm sure players would rather do that. And then lastly, Hela decks. So this also is Ghost Rider, but I'm just using Hela as an example here. Yeah, if you run into a Hela deck, you're probably helping them out. There's not a good chance that Hela's the lowest power card. I mean, it could happen. You like to run a lot of high power cards when you're playing a Hela list. So it could be the instance where you snipe that Hela, and that'd be hilarious. But if you don't, you hit, I don't know, like maybe that Iron Man or something that they might be running in a spicy little Hela list that I'm going to get to soon in my brews. But, you know, it could happen. It could feel really bad, and you got to watch out. So not that many counters. Like I said, again, the mirror matchup seems to be where this card actually gets countered, and otherwise is probably going to do pretty well. Here are some key synergies and some deck lists that I've put together. So, of course, we've already talked about stature, Ghost Rider being a fantastic synergistic card. I think that's one of the better ones. X23 is great for ramp and probably a guaranteed hit on the discard. I don't know if I love that all that much. I still think X23 is a better destroy card than it is a discard card, but hey, it's there. You know, it's an option. Zabu to, you know, make this card cheap, make it a 3/5 with upside and synergistic to your playstyle. Amazing synergy. And then Wong is actually a really sneaky one, or even Absorbing Man or anything like that that's going to make the on reveal trigger again. Get another discard on your opponent. Just, you know, take their hand right out. Hopefully, again, they're not playing discard. So when we got these synergies, what kind of decks can we brew up? Well, the Silver Hawk is probably the #1 deck list. I don't know if it's going to be this exact version, but there's going to be a list that uses this shell, and it's going to be meta relevant. I'm sure of it because it's already meta relevant, and it just gets stronger with Silver Samurai, in my opinion. So now you get a little bit more consistency. Now we have Silver Samurai and Black Bolt to discard a card from our opponent's hand, disrupting them, while also discounting our stature. And if we can use the Samurai to discard Iron Man or Darkhawk, which are the 2 lowest power cards in this deck list, well, we can resurrect them on turn 6 with Ghost Rider plus a stature play. That just seems like such a crazy power swing. Set it up with a little rock slide earlier on. Yeah, we might discard a rock, but it doesn't matter. That's not the point. Yeah, it's great if we can discard, you know, their higher power stuff. But if we discard a rock, it's just enabling stature. That's all we really care about. And if we have Ghost Rider, it's going to set up really beautifully. And then more synergies are like, you know, the Storm and Jeff. Storm and Ghost Rider is good too if we happen to discard a little bit early with the Samurai because we got Zabu out, or just anything. Any of this stuff. A little bit of control with Shang-Chi. Nebula is good with Storm as well. Again, I feel like this shell might change a card here or there, so feel free to play around with it. Heck, you could even get rid of Silver Samurai and put in another card there and you'd be just fine because this is just a good list right now. It's a little bit weak to ongoing counters like Enchantress, so you got to watch out for that. Maybe you want to run Cosmo in place, but for the most part, I think this is going to be a strong option. Another one is Hellken. So I recently learned that Silver Samurai's proper name is actually Kinuchio Harada, which is pretty neat. Yeah, a little lore for you guys there. So Ken, his name's Ken, and Hellken. We got Hela and we got Ken. And I thought that was pretty neat. So you got, we go for a different kind of Hela list. Normally you got like these Magnetos, these Gigantos, or Infinauts, or whatever, these big power stuff. What if we went low power but high value? So Leader, Doctor Doom, Iron Man, right? Low power, high value. I want to summon those back up. I don't know if it's going to work, but it'd be pretty fun. And then you got the MODOK, Invisible Woman combo, the Morbius. Even if we discard him, that's fine. If we can resurrect him with Hela, that's going to be great. He's going to get all that power from all the cards that were discarded throughout the game. Fantastic. Clean Wing, if we want to hit that X23 so we can ramp up into these options. If we don't have Hela in the hand, we got to look out. So if we can at least, you know, play Doctor Doom early and then Leader or something along those lines, that's where we got Magic in here too. A little bit more consistency because that's usually what these lists lack. And then America Chavez to just increase our odds of drawing Hela earlier. I think it'd be pretty fun. I don't know about the strength level compared to typical Hela decks. It's always that high roll. You hope to just get the 3-card combo that just wins the game, Invisible Woman, Modok, Hela, and then you also hope that they don't counter it, so it still falls under the same roof. And then lastly, we have Disrespect. Oh my gosh, guys, this is just nasty. I know this deck list is not good, but it's hilarious. It's mean. It's just don't play this one. Come on now. Yondu, destroy a card from their deck. Mantis, Cable, steal cards from their deck. Spider Ham, pig their hand. Baron Mordo, make their deck thinner and make their hand heavier, right? Scorpion, whip that hand, slap it around. Moon Knight, get a card out of there. Absorbing Man Wong to get more cards out of there. Silver Samurai, even more cards out of the hand. And then Stature, because it would be nice and cheap, and Black Bolt to get another one out of there. Why not? So we're just getting rid of cards in their opponent's hands. We're making them draw. We're taking their cards. We're doing all the mean things. We're bullying them around. And hopefully we do it enough that they have no options but to concede. So those are the few that I brewed up. But of course, you're probably thinking, hey, there's one glaringly obvious deck list that's not here. What about discard? What about just like a classic discard list? Could he work in that? And I think, yeah, he might be able to work in that, especially paired with Dakin, right? In discarding the Muramasa Shard, that's an easy 3-4 combo, right? You play Dakin on turn 3, you got the Shard enhanced, the lowest power thing, and then you play Silver Samurai, boom, you discard it, your Dakin's 8 power, and you got your Samurai out there, and you probably set up for Stature. I feel like actually Dakin could probably go really nicely in the Silverhawk list, something along those lines. But I have another deck list, as well as these deck codes and all, on Snap.fan in their article that will be coming out soon, so definitely go check it out. I'll have the link in the description. But let's get to whether this card is a snap or a pass. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I got him as a pass. Isn't that kind of surprising? All the good things I said about this card, you're probably like losing your mind because you're like, this card's going to be so good. And honestly, this is an economic decision for me. It's not a nod at the card's power total, but rather, can you afford to have this card? Like, I try not to spend too much money on this game, to the best of my abilities anyways, like passing on a lot of bundles. I don't have a lot of tokens to my name. And there's a lot of cards that I'm excited for in September. And sometimes you got to pause and just think, okay, what about my future of this game? Like, do I want to spend $100 next month to get a couple cards? Or do I just want to, keep it chill for now, that I can get the future cards next month? And that's what I'm doing. So I'm passing on this card despite I think it'll be pretty strong. I also just feel like you can pass on it because you can replace it with other things and the deck will perform just as well. Like I was saying, even in the Silverhawk list, what I think will end up being his strongest, yeah, he's going to help, but you could probably put in something else and have close to the same results. That's how I feel about Silver Samurai. That's why I'm saying he's a pass. The spotlight caches are not alluring enough for me to gamble opening them up, and then the 6,000 token price tag is too much. If this was 3,000 tokens Series 4 release, easy buy, absolutely. But because of the way it is, his ability to be replaced in deck lists, I'm going to say a pass. But I don't think it's a bad pickup either if you do choose to go forward with him. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you're not familiar with this series, we do this every single week for all the new cards to give you guys an idea of how good they might possibly be. It's all speculation, it's all fun, but I love talking about it. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next time.